All right, shalom, shalom. I'd like to first say happy Shabbat to you, those who um, celebrate the Shabbat. Shalom, shalom. Happy Shabbat to you. Shalom, shalom. Happy Shabbat to you. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that all was well, to make sure that I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Um, I want to start off by blowing the shofar. Yeah, hey, hey. So I like to say, thank the Creator for allowing. Um, Give me 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Move, mama. Yeah, move. No, no. Boy. All right. Had to raise my mic up. Um, I want to make. This is part 8. I want to make sure that you can be able to hear me. I like to say all praises to the Creator for allowing us to be here today, giving us the um what you call it giving us this day where we could come and you know get get the knowledge and the understanding, so as that we could be able to move forward in our life of growing, our life of building, in our life of the things that we supposed to be doing for the Creator. um Also, I like to um thank everyone for coming in. Those who are going to come in, I'm asking you to please press that like button, press the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to this page, and also share the post. Share it so as that others can know that we're here. I just want to kind of put my other computer up here. So I want to make sure that we get other people in so they can be able to hear this lesson as well. Um, but I'm just gonna go ahead on and get started to recap, because we have a lot. We have a lot that we have to unpack today. We have a lot to unpack today. Um, to start off, I know a lot of people have what is called their own way of unpacking this Genesis. Everybody has what they want to believe, how they believe, why they believe it. And that's on you. But as I'm really doing the study and the research, I'm finding out a lot of what is being told and what is not being told. A lot of us, we was told a false narrative of how things actually were. You know, when they say from the beginning. But all praises to the Creator for giving me this stewardship of 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 learning, so as that I can go and learn what is and what ain't. And that's why I thank the Creator for, giving me this mindset. So to go back and recap, Genesis, the first chapter, verse 26, it was talking about um it was talking about the Creator made man. And for the Creator making man, he made man, which is male and female. They have the same purpose, but they don't have the same roles. So within that purpose, they have, which is called a duty that they need to fulfill within that purpose. So that's the first chapter. Male and female has what is called a purpose. Okay. And they have to fulfill that role in that purpose so as that they can do what they supposed to do within the Creator's realm. Now, when you jump over to chapter 2 talks about on the seventh day, the Creator had rested from all that he had made, and that he had created. That's on the seventh day. So when you're talking about the seventh day, you're talking about the end. Okay? You're talking about the end. So when you're talking about the end, you're talking about what that things that never happened after it was created. After when the Creator finished creating. But we have people that believe that there's an 8th day and there's a 9th day and there's a 10th day. There's not none of that. It's only 7 days. Okay? And for the 7th day, the Creator didn't do anything else. That was it. He was marveling at all that was purposed. So within that, you can see in verse 4 of chapter 2 that the Creator had began to the Creator began to show the outline of what the Creator would have, what he was actually doing. So that's when we have to pay attention to really realize that when the Creator was creating these things, he made man, male and female. He put man inside of the garden. He made a garden, okay? And he put man inside of that garden. He put man inside of that garden. And when he put man in that garden, then what you think happened? What do you think literally happened? That's why man was supposed to dress it and keep it. He was supposed to protect it and take care of it, making sure that everything flowed according to how the Creator made on purpose it to flow. So then the Creator brought the animals. I'm just kind of outlining. You have to go back to part 1 and catch all the way back up to part 8. The Creator brought all the animals to Adam, and it didn't name the fish, but we say it was. Some people say it was the fish, but he didn't name the fish. Okay, and When the Creator had brought the animals and everything, all the creatures to Adam, for Adam to name it, then what happened was is that Adam named all the things, but it says that there was no help meet for Adam. Okay, there was no help meet for Adam. All right. And for there not being a help meet for Adam, what took place is that the Bible says he put Adam into a trance. That trance is talking about a longing, a desire. He put a desire inside of Adam to want a wife, to needing a wife. And the Bible says, and he slept, meaning he never came from out that trance. He never did. And for him never coming from out of that trance, that means even up till this day, male desire female. Okay? Male desire female. And when male desire female, then we have to also now look at it in the perspective that he chose a particular female. When he chose that particular female, he went inside of the chambers. They got married. They had a wedding vow, marriage vows. And when they had the wedding vows and marriage vows, then what happened? They had what is called consummating the marriage, sex. And when they had sex, then what took place? He said, the bones of my bone, flesh of my flesh. He realized the very nature of her, the characteristics of her. The female has what is called an anvil attitude. That's an ANVIL. That's the little black things that you see on cartoons. And that thing, that type of metal is like a steel. It's there, it could bend iron. They use to bend iron out. And that thing is so that it represents like a persuasive or a type of influence that the female has. So it shows that she has that type of influence and in power. Adam used that power to be able to he was supposed to use that power to gain, to gain her on his side. Okay? So he realized this, and so after when he realized the characteristics of her, then what happened? It says that they were naked and not ashamed. So what it means to be naked and not ashamed? It's just simply saying they didn't have no other need for anything else to be added in a marriage. They were complete. They were complete. They were solid. And for them being solid, then what took place? He says, and therefore shall the man leave his father and mother and shall cleave unto his wife. And the two shall become one. Meaning, after when the male realized the characteristics of his wife, he's supposed to immediately leave home. He's supposed to leave home from father and mother. Because now he got a garden of himself. He got his own garden. And for him having his own garden, he cleaved to his wife. They're naked, meaning, but they're not ashamed, meaning that they don't have nothing else in the marriage that needs to be added. They're complete as one. And that's when he announced to the public that this is his wife. Everyone's supposed to know he's married. So then what took place? In chapter 3, then it says, yea, the serpent, who was more subtle and cunning than any beast of the field that the Creator made. Meaning that word yea means that there's a conversation that's been going on for a long time. Between who? The male and between the female and the serpent. Chapter 3 just simply showing you the agenda is now being pushed, that the serpent needs to be pushed. And that's why he began to open up on the female by saying, did the creator say for you not to eat off every tree that's in the garden? And the female said, well, we can eat off every tree in the garden because it's good for food and pleasant to the eyes. But that one that's in the midst, we cannot eat nor touch it, lest we die. Some people say, oh, well, she added the word touch. No, she did not add that. She didn't add it. They just didn't specifically say touch in chapter 2. But touch means to strike. And I'm going to show you what strike means. Strike means to go at it the wrong way. To deal with that tree in a specific way, reckless, when you're not ready to deal with that. She wasn't lying. So the enemy said, you shall not die prematurely unless you alter or change. See, notice what I say. See, the English says, you shall surely not die. But in the text, it says, you shall not die prematurely if you don't change nor alter. Meaning, it's something you must pay attention to. And he said, because the day you eat of it, the day the creator knows you're going to be like him. You're going to be like God. Okay? You're going to be a judge. The day you devour this thing, you're going to be a judge. But I asked the question, why would the female need to have a conversation with someone else dealing with her house or her personal being or who she is as a person? Why she did not include her husband? See, that's a no-no. That's a big no-no. She should have she should have included her husband, but she did not. But because the reason why she did not include her husband is because she already had an agenda in her mind. She wasn't never connected with her husband from the beginning. Because if you're connected to something, how do you lose that connection? The connection never was there. So that's why the Bible says when she saw, not when they saw, when she saw that it was good for food and pleasant to the eyes. Go back to chapter 2, verse 9. All the trees in the garden was good for food and pleasant to the eyes, but not the tree of knowledge. So she started looking at that tree on the same level as the other trees, that's a no-no. That's a straight up no-no. So then what happened? She said, and to make one wise in desire, meaning to long for. So she see herself doing some things that she didn't supposed to be visualizing, because now what she's doing, she's looking at the result, the fruit, meaning the result. She's looking at that reckless. She's not paying attention to she's not paying attention to her house no more. She's not paying attention to protecting her husband. She's looking at the fruit, the result of how she can use this result, how she could benefit from this result. That's what she's doing. And you have to ask yourself, is that feasible for you as a wife? To want to see things done in the respect of you. And you just totally leave your husband out. So now she began to eat because she saw herself inside of that fruit, the things that the role that she's going to play, how it's going to benefit her, how this thing is going to uphold her, how this thing is going to what? Please her. And she's looking at how she's going to guard that thing now. So as she see all that in her mind, dealing with that fruit, what is she doing for her husband in her house? She's neglecting that. She's neglecting all of that. So now she eats of that fruit. She eats it. She enters it. She devours it. She consumes it now. And after she consumes it or devour it, what happens? The Bible says she turned to her husband and give it to him who was with her. And that word with means to what? That word with means to accompany. He was accompanying her, meaning to make one feel good at the decision that one is making. You have to ask yourself the question, what is really taking place with her? And that word gave means to employ. Employed means to be inactive. To be active, available, but inactive, idle, or disengaged. So Adam wasn't really doing his job. He was off his job. Adam was chilling. He was just relaxing. He wasn't paying attention to that. He accompanied his wife in the decision that she made, meaning it didn't matter to him because he felt like she was doing what she supposed to be doing. He wasn't overseeing the decisions that she was making. He wasn't paying attention to the decisions that she was making. She wasn't. He wasn't. And then the Bible says he ate. And when he ate, what happened? Their eyes were open. Their eyes were open. Meaning his eyes fell into the same realm, went into the same realm, and became a part of that same realm she's not a part of. She done became a part of before she gave it to him, meaning she's now the head. He's no longer the head. She's the head now. So it says after that, their eyes were both open and they immediately, all these things started taking place and they hit themselves when they heard the voice of the Creator. When it says when they heard the voice, meaning they felt the breath leaving them. They felt the breath leaving. And when they felt the breath leaving them, they began to realize that this is a real mess up. It's a real mess up, man. It's a real mess up. It's a real mess up. So when you realize that this is a real mess up, they begin to sow fig leaves. What it means to sow fig leaves? Fig leaves it means to join together. Sowing means to join together. What was they trying to join together? They were trying to join those two mindsets together. Because they realized that they couldn't. So when they realized that they could not sow those two mindsets together, they hid themselves. And when they hid themselves, then what took place? Adam started realizing his marriage was done, his rulership was done, his authority was done, the place that he was in was done. All that is done. He's realizing all of that is done. He realizing that. All of that stuff is done. And he's understanding this is a real tragedy. And it's going to take hell to try to get back to that position. So now he's being judged by the Creator. And he asked the Creator came to him and asked him, what this you have done? What is this particular thing you did or you have done? And he said, well, it was the woman that you gave me. But notice what he did. He blamed the Creator by saying, it's the woman you gave me. The Creator didn't give him a woman. He chose that woman. If you go back and do the real investigation in these scriptures, Adam chose who we call Eve. And we're going to get into Eve today. Adam chose that female. And then he blamed that decision of him choosing that female on the Creator. He's not willing to take responsibility for that. He's willing to just continue to do what? hide himself away from everything. Nah. And then he said the woman. He didn't say my wife. He said the woman, meaning he's trying to disconnect himself from this female. This is a tragedy. Only thing he had to do was take responsibility, but he refused to do that. So then he turned around and the creator went to the female. And what did the creator ask the woman? What is this you have done? What is this particular thing you caused? She said, the serpent beguiled me. But when you look at the female and go back when the serpent was talking to her, only thing the serpent did was ask her simple questions. She the one that looked at the result, the fruit. She saw when it was desirable to the eyes and to make one wise. She saw that it was good for food, pleasant to the eye. She saw the things inside of that result that will benefit her. So how could you be beguiled? Was she tricked, or was she not really paying attention to the agenda of the serpent? Because if she was tricked, she wouldn't have never did no investigation. She would have never understood that the creator told that she was told not to eat off the tree. She would have been told, she wouldn't have never told the serpent that. So how could she be tricked by something she knew? She just didn't never know his agenda until it was too late. And he exposed it. He exposed his agenda through her. That's why when the creator went to the serpent, he didn't ask the serpent any questions. He just began to judge the serpent. So now we are in court. And this is part 8. We start at verse 14. In chapter 3. Chapter 3, verse 14. Let me pull it up. Okay, we're going to have this issue again today, right? Okay, here we go. So when you recognize okay, see, we're going through this BS again today with this computer. You act right 1 minute, then you act wrong the next minute. All right, just give me 1 second. See, we don't realize. Okay, here we go. We don't realize that there's judgment going on. There's judgment. So Genesis, the 3rd chapter, verse 14, let me read it. It says, and the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shall thou go, and dust shall thou eat all the days of thy life. Okay? So now you got to remember now the Creator is judging. He's starting to bring judgment. He don't ask his questions. So now he's starting to bring judgment down. There's no reason to keep questioning or argue about anything. Judgment is now here. Because now the agenda is exposed. What is the agenda? What is the agenda the serpent had with the woman? It was to remove the man from the house. And once when the man is removed from the house comes down crashing. Because there's nothing there to protect the man. I mean, the house. The protector is gone. Let's get into a couple of videos real quick. This is fair use on 1970 Fair Use Act. This is to only this is for criticism, teaching purposes, for us to learn something. This is not my material. This is material that's on YouTube. And this is fair use. This is the Fair Use Act. So I'm not stealing anybody's material. I'm just using it for criticism, teaching purposes, and to upbuild us only. Okay? And I'm here to I'm bringing criticism to the video that we are going to watch. The first one is Steve Harvey. Now, I don't like Steve. I don't get down with Steve. I'm not saying Steve is an all bad person, but it's just some of the things that he does I don't get down with. So this is the first one. It's called Steve Harvey, Advice to Successful Women. This is some things that we have to pay attention to, and we have to monitor. Okay. Let me do it like this. Stop. Let me put it on it. Okay, we're gonna skip the ad. No. This is Steve Harvey's advice to advice for successful women who can't find a good man. And we're gonna bring all this in. We're gonna chime all this together. All right, let's look at the serpent's agenda. Here we go.
So Michelle, I hear you all have a question. You all have a question for Liz?
Yes, hi Steve.
Hi.
Our question is, these are my best friends, and we're successful, intelligent, and beautiful women, as you can see. We're successful entrepreneurs, brand marketing specialists, fashion designers, etc. And where do you find not just a man, but a good man?
You mean, where do you find? I mean, look, we don't know where you find a great woman at. They just happen along. There's no particular spot to go. You can't go to a club and he's gonna be there. He may not be at church. He just happens along. But you all are very successful women, and I think sometimes I'm just saying sometimes, just give you something to think about. Some successful women have had good men and didn't know it, because you do not know what comprises a good man. You don't know the DNA of a good man. See, a man shows his love very differently from a woman. And I call them in the book the 3 P's of love. We profess, we provide, and we protect. If you're so successful, and a man knows this, and you exude success, which you should, please don't stop being successful. But understand, a man has got to see where he fits into the providing and protecting role. If you got everything, you know everything, you can do everything. No, you got your own car, you got all this, you can protect, you got a guard dog and a handgun. The guy is thinking, where do I fit in here? You've got to make a space for him to fit in so he can come in and do what men do.
May I say this? I say this to my friend Gail all the time, who says the same thing you all are saying. Where do you find a man? Where do you find a man? You guys are intimidating to men. You guys.
Oh, we heard that.
Well, okay, and let me just explain to you what I mean, because when I said that to Gail, she goes, I don't think that's true. Are they not? Isn't this intimidating to man when you cannot find a way to do the 3 Ps, because a man is sizing you up, trying to see exactly what Steve was saying. Where does he fit? Women with the handbags and the furs, the coats and the shoes. A guy is looking at all of that,
Absolutely.
seeing if
If he can afford this.
that's right. That's right.
So we have to we have to pay attention. A man, when you talking about what Eve did, she removed Adam, and she did not get she blocked him out of everything. So now the question now becomes, where do Adam fit into this new agenda that now Eve is now operating in? Where do he fit in? Because he was put as the provider, the protector, and the what? It's the 3 Ps. Provider, protector, and the what? What is the 3 Ps? Let's go back to it.
Club, and he's gonna be there. He may not be at church, you know. He just happens. But you are very successful women, and I think sometimes I'm just saying sometimes. Just give you
Let's
something
look
to
at the
think
3.
about.
Let's listen to the
Some
3 Ps.
successful women have had good men and didn't know it, because you do not know what comprises a man. You don't know the DNA of a good man. See, a man shows his love very differently from a woman, and I call them in the book the 3 Ps of love. And we
Profess, provide, and protect. So how do a man provide, profess, and protect a female? See, when a woman feel like and that's what Eve did. She blocked Adam out and then brought Adam in the way she want Adam to be at. And Adam realized that role that he's now in with her is wrong. He don't fit in. That's why they was trying to what? They were trying to join those 2 rims together. Because he realized that rim don't belong to him. So why would he be operating in that rim? And that's that's one of the agendas. And one of the agendas for the serpent was to remove the man. Where's that the man cannot find a place inside of the house. I want y'all to pay attention to this, because this is powerful. The man cannot find a place in the home. Everything is what? Taken. Everything is taken. There's no place in the home for the male. That's one of the agendas for the serpent. Okay? He wants the woman to close all the avenues for the man. There's no place. There is no place in the home for the man, for the male. So he's going to move. He's not going to come. He's not going to stay. Okay? That's number 1. I want y'all to pay attention to that. This is the serpent's agenda. See, the Creator knows what the serpent did. He knows that. This is the beguiling. This is the beguiling. Okay? This is the beguiling that a lot of people don't know. What was his purpose? Why did he do these things to the female? It's because he needed the female to move the male. Okay? And she operates off her own agenda. She operates off her own reconnaissance. She's the protector. Okay? Let's go to video number 2. Let's go to video number 2. Let's go to video number 2. This video, this is how black, so-called melanated women destroys the black family. Now, I'm going to kind of put the mute on that. This is the Crimson's curse, cure. Excuse me, the Crimson's cure. She's very good. This is how black women destroys the black families. So-called. I don't like to use that word so-called. I mean, I would like to use that word black, but just for the sake of the video, that's what the video is called if you're looking for it. Let's get into it. Did I freeze? Hold on. Hold on. I didn't do this right. No, I didn't do this right. That's my fault. Let me go back. No, I didn't do this right. That's my fault. Let me go back. Okay, here we go. All right, this is fair use, fair use. This is how a black woman destroys her family. This is number 2. Okay, this is number 2. Fair use, fair use. This is how
long. I'm not going to interrupt it. And I just want you to listen and come back. I'm going to give you my perspective on it. So let me go ahead. Let me pull this up
I had
for
a
you.
revelation while I was up here. I actually had it before, but it even was better up here. I got a chance to share with the ladies how James and I went through a storm in our marriage, and the enemy couldn't take us down because he
Yeah, a lot of
wanted
reverb.
marriage. Because the enemy
That's the
knows,
video.
just like God knows, how important we could be to other people. If
That's the video. The video is reverbing like that. That's not on me.
Okay.
we stay together, then he knows that if James and I stay together, we're going to do things that would really help people. He knows that. He knows the impact we can have, and he did not want that. So he depended on me, the enemy now, depended on me to walk out. Because y'all know I know how to divorce somebody, right? Oh, I know how to do that. I know how to fill out the papers. I know how to keep all my stuff, my job, my car, my place. I know how to keep everything in each other and keep it moving. He knew I knew how to roll. God was trying to find out. Yeah, I taught you how to do all that. Now I need to know what's your staying power. What do you have in here that would make you stay? What have I taught you, Kim, in all of this? And I had to come to the realization, you know what? It's time to do something different. And it was one of the hardest things I have ever done because I know how to roll. I just didn't know how to stay. I didn't know how to stay. I felt like you make a promise to me and you break it, I'm out. And I'm not saying I'm all perfect because God knows I'm not. Ain't no need to be lying to y'all because God knows. But once I started dealing with my own mess and stopped believing that this man needed to have an S on his chest, I was like, I can do this. And the enemy hated it. So you know what he did? He took my child. You know when he messes with the king, the queen, and he can't destroy them, he's going to come after your kids one way or another. Because one way or another, he wants to destroy the head of the family, that man. He felt like if he took my daughter, that it would crush me and it would crush my man. I'm here to tell you, my child was a blessing to me, and I accept that God took her. That don't mean I'm over it. It doesn't mean I'm over it. It just means that I have accepted it. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be on the floor crying in 5 minutes. But what it does mean is that I know that I got to
Okay. To look at that, you heard what she said. I don't have time to run it back. So if you need to hear it again, you're going to have to catch the playback. But I'm going to talk about this is how Black women destroy Black families. Now, you might say, Crimson Q, what she was talking about having to stay with her husband. She didn't destroy it, but she did talk about how the enemy, as she put it, was depending on her to actually break that family. That she was the one, she was the point of attack where the family could be broken. I'm going to talk about a few things because a lot of Black women have been deluded on so many things in this world, in this country, in this under system and under that we have made the marriage easy to get into, but even easier to get out of. You just saw her explain how she know how to maneuver it to such a degree that she doesn't lose any physical or monetary thing after filing a divorce. And most women understand this. Most Black women understand this because this country has made it very easy. And I need Black women to understand why I'm coming down so hard on you.
Now I want you to pay attention. Now, this is a sister. Now, go to her channel. She has very good material. She's in, she goes in. She goes in and she's putting her 2 cents out there for the Black so-called melanated sisters and the family. And that's what a lot of so-called sisters need to hear, is a sister like her. You need to listen to people like her. Okay? So let's get into it. She's about to go in, she's about to go into it. Let's go.
Because this is an attack. And because we don't have the spiritual value necessary to understand when we are under an attack, of the attack, succumb to the, and we'll always be the entry point. We'll always be the weak point. We'll always be where the enemy comes, because he knows that we can be easily manipulated, and because we don't have any spiritual value.
And that's what happened to Eve. Eve was the entry point. She was the beginning of all of this in the east part of the garden. So then what took place? She became the weak part because she disexcluded her husband. And a lot of times, a lot of females disexclude their husband because they feel like, well, I could do it. I could hold it down, blah, 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 blah. But it wasn't meant for you to do that unless your husband, like in Tobit, in the story of Tobit in the Apocrypha, was sick or injured. Then you step up to do so. But it's not there for you to compete with him. But this society got you competing against your husband. That's part of the curse. That's the agenda. Let's go.
We don't value anything. See, Black women, what you have to understand is what I said before. Other people have rights over you.
Now, notice what she said. She said, you don't value anything. And then when she say rights over you, she means a role. She's talking about the role, the 3 Ps. Profess, protect, and provide. That's the male's role. Now, it's not saying that the female cannot provide for herself. She ought to. You heard what Steve Harvey said. No, you stay successful. But when you're looking for a man, when that male come, do he and can he find a place with you? And then if he can't, then you're not going to value him. You're not going to value the male. He's just going to be another thing that you have, along with your job, your house, your car, your money in the bank, and etc. That's just going to be another thing you got. You're not going to see him as the provider, the protector, and one who professes to you. You're not going to see that. Because all those things you got is doing that. So that's when you begin to do what? You begin to now not valuing the man. Let's go.
People don't, but we have rights over one another. When you get to a man for yours, you have the right to shut food. You have the right to have, and you have a rightness. That's what you have. But your husband has so many rights over you. How many times do you contravene his right to come to you for physical intimacy and you deny that right? How many times did he have a right to come into that house for peace and you deny that right? How many times how many children are birthing with this man and he has a right to dictate how the children grow and you that? How many times do you contravene and step out on your marriage and cheat when he has a right to you and your physical body and you deny that right? How many times does he have a simple right over you to command you to rest you? to do it. And if those, I can't command you to jump off a bridge and kill yourself. But if he say, okay, I need you to have dinner prepped for a week, and you deny that right. See, these are the rights that husbands have over wives.
And see, a lot of sisters don't get that. This not saying that you're a slave. This is how you keep the house in order. Let's go.
And that you don't understand this stuff because we live under a system that say we're the only ones that have rights.
There you go. See, you live under a system that gives the female more rights than the male. And the females knows this. So they takes the advantage of this against the male. That's why I try to tell you, and I'm trying to show you the agenda of the serpent. Let's go.
You get into these marriages, and because there's no sanctity, because there's no, you don't view it as a spiritual contract. This is something, these are vows that you're making not only to that man, you are making it so-called to the God that you believe in.
And that's what we just talked about, and that's what we talked about in part 2. When Adam chose this female, they went into the temple. And they made a vow to the everlasting. Your vow don't end because you claim you got a divorce. You are still married. Because the Creator don't honor divorce. When she said you don't value anything, that's because you're already full with everything. Okay? Let's go.
Call. You can be selfless. We know you can think about you, but can you think about the group? Is there any part of you that understands how important a family unit actually is?
See, are you paying attention to the family unit? Or are you only paying attention to you? What are you valuing? What is more valuable to you? The family unit or you? Just a couple of more minutes and we're going to go to the next video.
You run around these feminist ideas that teach you how to be nothing, how to be useless, how to operate outside of your function, what you need to do, how to act outside of your nature. I just went over.
See, she said you follow the feminist ideas of making you useless. It's making you act outside of your role. I just sat there and said there's one purpose on this earth, and that purpose is to make sure everything move according to how the Creator purposed it. Your job is to guard it. Your job is to oversee it. But within that purpose, there are two roles. The male role and the female role. Neither role are the same because we are not the same. And she just sat there and said, let me go back again. Let me rewind. And let's ride.
We know you're selfish, but can you be selfless? We know you can think about you, but can you think about the group? Is there any part of you that understands how important a family unit actually is?
So do the females understand how important a family is? Because if she did, she'll know the role and she will not combat that role. She will have value within that role. See, the first thing is the enemy needed, that's what's his agenda, was that he needed, whereas that there was no place in a home for the male. He needed the female to actually make sure everything in her life is full. So there's no purpose for him. There's no reason for him to be there. Number two, what is the number two? Is to have no value in anything. To not have value in nothing. To be selfish. To be selfish. This is number two, is to be selfish. And worthless. That's number two. That's what the sister was saying. And that's what the enemy needed you to be. He needed you whereas that to make your life full. So when you do get a male, you a real good man, you don't even know it. You don't recognize it because you don't got everything. So you can't find no place for him in your life. He ought to be the top, but nah, your job is the top. He ought to be the head, but nah, your bank account is the head. See, this is the enemy's plan. This is his plan. It's to make your life full, whereas that he cannot find no way to sit. And then you don't have no value in nothing. You don't have no value in nothing. Let's go to number three. Let's go to video number 3. Single mother triggered by truth. Single mother triggered by truth. Let me see what this is doing. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Single mother triggered by truth. To make sure that I go. Okay, here we go. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of this. All right. All right, here we go. Let me start from the beginning. This is fair use, fair use. This is for criticism purposes only. And we are here for criticism to teach, to upbuild, and to be able to bring our people into a mindset so as that we can learn from this. This is not my material. And this is the saint and the this is the saint and the shot and the sinner channel. So you can go to his channel and support this brother. Also, the Crimson Cure. Go and support that sister. She's awesome. She's awesome. Also, the Saint in the Center. This brother's awesome as well. Y'all make sure these people, these channels that I'm showing, make sure y'all support these people. Go on these people's channel because they have some awesome material. I promise you, they have some awesome material. So let's go. Without no further ado, let's ride.
Putting me in a box, and you're basically typecasting me. You're putting me in a box, and you're basically saying that it's my fault.
Are you a single mother?
I am.
Well, actually, I don't even like to use the term single mother. I like to use the term lonely mother.
Now I want y'all to pay attention. I want y'all to pay attention and notice one thing. Look at her demeanor. And this brother's going to call it out. His brother's going to call out her demeanor. Look how she is on the attack. And look how calm the brother's going to be. But he's trying to get a point off to her. And that's what's problematic with a lot of the sisters today. Like I told y'all, once when Eve saw in the fruit, she had to learn to guard that thing now that she saw in it. And that's what a lot of sisters do. They get themselves into a pickle, or they get themselves and they bite into the fruit. And now when they're being called out on a carpet, they defend that thing. They literally defend it. Because they done bit into the fruit. Pay attention to her demeanor. Let's ride.
Are you a lonely mother?
Listen, first of all, you're not about to use degrading or.
And I don't want to degrade you individually. I'll explain why I use that term.
No, I don't really care why you use it, but the
I'm
very
going to
fact,
explain.
it's a frame of mind.
You don't.
See, you see what I'm saying? See, she's not paying attention to what he's trying to get across to her because she's trying to defend that result. And a lot of sisters, when you're trying to tell them something, they get into that defensive mode. Why? It's because they don't want us to get into that point of identifying the problem as them. And it's not the point of picking out on the sister, but you heard what the sister in Crimson Cure say. If you don't recognize the problem, you're going to always be the entry point, the beginning. You're going to always be the weak point. And you'll never have someone trying to protect you. Because sisters, y'all get triggered too much, too fast, over very little instead of trying to look at the bigger picture. The enemy has an agenda and he's using you for the agenda to destroy your own house. And what I mean by the house is to destroy your own man who protects the house in order for your children to grow up right. So let's ride.
I'm
Very fact that using it, fine.
you use it. You have no why.
Using it. If
How can we exchange knowledge if you're too angry to hear it out?
Why are you assigning the word lonely?
Because that's the reality. Let me explain why. Like, think about.
Look at her demeanor. Look at her demeanor. Look at her demeanor. She already got in her mind that she thinks she know it. She understands what he's trying to say, but she don't, because she's not trying to pay attention to what he's trying to get across to her. This is the enemy's agenda. To be closed-minded. That's number 3. The first one is to not have room for the man. The second one is to not have value in yourself. And the third one is to be closed-minded. Don't listen to reason. So let's ride.
This is how we know you're not suited for leadership. This is how we know. Look at the way you're behaving right now. Mere words have taken you all the way out of your position. There's nothing in life that would lead to anger and emotionalism, because untamed emotion is the enemy of performance. So you will.
Did you hear what he said? The untamed emotions is the enemy's performance. He just sat there and told her, you are being led by the enemy and don't even know it. See, we're gonna get into the judgment today. I hope you got your boots on, and I hope you bought something to eat, because we're going to jump into this thing today. I'm showing you the enemy's agenda. Let's ride.
And emotionalism, because untamed emotion. So you, while leader, let me show you what's called data. Since you're in university, you can look at this.
Look how she's looking. See, I told y'all, she wants to be, she want to be the head. Look at her. Look at her emotions, man. You got to peep the game. The enemy, the enemy, look how she's doing her hair. The enemy is just really, he really, I mean, the females don't know the game. They don't know the game. Let's go back. Let's ride.
Clear evidence that the woman is not to be the top leader. Let me show you what's called data. Since you're in university, you can look at this data, and then we can assess what the data says about lonely mothers. And I'll explain further why I use the term lonely mothers. It's not to shame you. Instead, it's to make it stigmatized, because it's not a good thing for society.
You think that I don't need you to show me any data that's going to help me understand that
over the past 30 years, the rise in violent crime.
See, notice what he did. He just cut her off. Because, you know, when you get tired of trying to persuade people, you just have to just cut them off and just keep it moving. Keep it going with just run over, because the brother know he's not really dealing with her. He's dealing with the enemy's agenda. He's dealing with the enemy's agenda. And that's why he just went ahead and just kept reading. Let's ride.
Last 30 years, the rise in violent crime parallels the rise in abandonment by fathers, meaning single mothers. If you look at all of the data on single mothers, you find that the children raised by single mothers, or shall we say lonely mothers, all the data indicates that these children are more likely to be incarcerated in prison, right? They're likely to go to fucking jail. They're likely to have less educational attainment, which means that single mothers are not good leaders. Single mothers are terrible leaders. And I'm not saying that the men who leave their children are good guys. These men leaders immature. They admire. In fact, take it.
Now, notice what he also is doing now. He's also going after the men that produce these children. He don't call them men, he call them boys. Because we have to stop playing this game. We have to stop playing the game like a man is a man because he had a child. That don't make you a freaking man. That just shows you have a male part. See, we have to know the agenda. We're going to get into that man thing, and we're going to get into that man thing, but let's keep riding. Let's ride it, let's ride it, let's ride. Let's go.
Boys, in fact, and I would encourage them to take care of their kids. But here's the thing. When a man leaves his own child, it's highly unlikely it's due to the child. It's due to that lonely mother having been a whore and he didn't want the kid in the first place. It's her being disagreeable and he's leaving the situation with her. So we can't lie and say that a lonely mother is preferential to a two-parent household. Don't we at least agree on that? That ideally we have two-parent households. Do we agree on that?
You see, when I questioned
See,
your type,
see, we have to, and see, notice what he says. It's the man who left because he didn't want to deal with the issue no more. And it was the man who left because the woman is being disagreeable. In other words, what they're saying is that she didn't want to fall in line. She didn't want to play her role. She wanted to play another role, and that's to be in the head. Hey. So that's what's taking place. That's what's taking place. Yeah. So when you're talking about that's taking place, this is my little granddaughter. Say hey. Say hey. So I just wanted to, she say hey. Say hey one more time. Say bye-bye. Okay, bye-bye. She wanted to come on camera. There you go. Go to Gigi. Go ahead. So that's what happens when we, I know you can't come back on camera now. No, you can't come back on camera. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So that's what happens when we don't recognize the literal. We have to see the females. You got to get to that truth of this whole thing. Go ahead, I'm coming. You got to get to the truth. And when you get to the truth, you have to recognize the truth and accept what the truth really is. Okay? Now, without no further ado, let's get into the last video. Let's get into this video here. See, she was triggered by the truth. She was triggered by the truth. She was triggered by the truth. What's number 3? Number 3 is not accepting correction. That's the truth. Not accepting correction. Okay? You know everything. You don't want to be corrected. You don't want to be corrected. That's number 3. Not willing to be correct, not willing and not open to be corrected. That's the thing what we have to be, that's what we have to be. We have to not willingly and not open to be corrected. So that's the problem. That's number 3. Okay? That's number 3. That's number 3. Now let's go to, hold on, I think I did this one wrong. I put it in the wrong spot. This is number 1. Yeah, okay, so I need to correct this right here. Just give me a minute. Now we're going to get into number 4. Now we're going to get into number 4. This is number 4. Let's get into the last video. Let's get into the last video. Let's get into the last video. And this one right here is what is feminism? The truth about the woman. What is feminism? Come on up, because it's trying to take its time. What is feminism? And it's saying the truth about the woman's power movement. What is feminism? The truth about, here we go right here. The truth about the women's power movement. And this right here, this channel is The Truth Unedited. Y'all could go and subscribe to his channel. This brother got some, he really dropped some heat in his channel. He's another good person that you can go and check out. And we're not going to watch all 36 minutes of it, but we're going to listen to this brother. This is number 4. Okay. I'm gonna skip. I'm gonna get into a little bit there. I'm gonna skip to the end. And this right here is about, this right here is black, so-called melanated man. This is about you. Okay. Excuse me, the feminism. This is feminism. We're gonna get into the male point of view too. But let's go. Let's ride.
This world is complete upside down. And that is not the most disturbing part of it all. The most disturbing part to that fact is that the majority does not even realize it. And what's worse is that if you attempt to even bring this up and highlight the delusion, you can be silenced and portrayed as a speaker of hate or discrimination, even though that's not anywhere close to what you are. This can be seen very much through this current topic that needs to be discussed. There has been a shift in the way we have begun to view and perceive roles in this world. It was very gradual, but a quick progression that has now become the standard, when at one time it was not even thought of. It has to be covered and reviewed, not with the thought that it will change the world and the majority out of part of the strong delusion, but those here have a proper perspective on a topic that seems to have only one major side in this world. Though it seems very easy to see, there does not seem to be a strong group or voice of dissent against this topic. But even the voices heard are not speaking against the biggest agenda surrounding this topic. In this video,
that means that those who have a platform, a lot of the ones who have a platform ain't really saying too much about this agenda. Because the reason why is because they're helping this agenda, which is the enemy's purpose, his agenda. Let's ride.
I'll try to tread very lightly, carefully choosing my words, because at this point in the game, people are ready to chew you up when they hear one statement that their minds haven't fully comprehended yet. If you are a woman, especially if you are a believer, I ask that you hear me out before you rush to judgment. I am not coming in hate, but in love. It is undeniable that there is a feminism movement, a movement that desires to put men and women as equals. The question we should ask ourselves is, or the devil?
So you hear, look at the picture. Look at the picture real quick. You got 4 women and you got a male in the back. And look what it says. My rules. Fight like a girl. Women power. Look what look now let's go. Look what's going on. Look what's going on.
What are the dangers of the?
It says no sexism. Do you see? This is what I'm talking about. They have males that goes out to support this feminism. Okay? Let's go. Let's ride.
This topic. But even the voices heard are not speaking against the biggest agenda surrounding this topic. In this video, I will try to tread very lightly, carefully choosing my words, because at this point in the game, people are ready to chew you up when they hear one statement that their minds haven't fully comprehended yet. If you are a woman, especially if you are a believer, I ask that you hear me out before you rush to judgment. I am not coming in hate, but in love. It is undeniable that there is a feminism movement, a movement that desires to put men and women as equals. The question we should ask ourselves is this thought given by God or the devil? What are the dangers of this thought? And where will this thought lead us? We need to discuss the women movement, not to bring women down, but to do the opposite and uplift them. There is only power in the truth, and the truth is what has been lost in this upside down world. So I would like to use this soapbox to bring attention to the truth and cast down the lies and strongholds. Let's begin. Okay, so I don't expect to be able to speak to all of the untruths that are surrounded by this topic, that attacking humanity at the end stage, but the truth must be told. Last week, I watched their newest propaganda movie that they released to see what it was that they wanted us to feel and know. That movie, Black Widow, was such a major tool of propaganda. Not that it really is any different than any other movie that they make, but you can tell that we are at a point that they don't even care about entertainment anymore. Back in the day, they used to mask their propaganda a little better than they do today. They don't hide the truth about the world at all any longer.
Yeah, what would you call it? When was the last time that you had a conversation with somebody that wasn't forced to talk to you?
You ran away fighting the wrong war. The real war was fought here in the shadows.
You didn't fight in the shadows. You hid in the dark.
Your power comes from undetectable influence.
And then they fill up the movie with their agendas that are so plain to see. Like in the movie, all there was were a woman fighting women. I want to say that there were at least 15 to 20 Marvel movies, and not one of them had armies of women when women were just fighting women. I mean, they did try it at the end of the biggest propaganda movie, Endgame, when they had all the women team up. That was very obvious. But this movie here was ridiculous. This movie was completely about an army of women fighting, and men were either ridiculously weak or not to be taken serious father.
So did you see that? They want you to make they job is to show you that the women are stronger or the men are and the men are just ridiculous weak or just powerless. That's the serpent's agenda. It wasn't nothing else. It was the serpent's agenda. That's right.
As I'm watching, I'm wondering so hard, who doesn't see this? But even if people do recognize it, it doesn't matter because we are so far into this agenda. Let's first talk about the agenda. What is feminism? I mean, I hate Wikipedia, but let's use their definition because it does sum it up very well, in my opinion. Feminism is a range of social movements, political movements, and ideologies that aim to define and establish the political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes. Feminism incorporates the position that societies prioritize the male point of view and that women are treated unjustly within those societies. Efforts to change that include fighting against gender stereotypes and establishing education, professional, and interpersonal opportunities and outcomes for women that are equal to those for men. Basically, it is a movement that pushes the notion that women and men are equal, that there should no longer be a difference between men and women, and that includes the roles that they play in society.
So you hear that? Men and women are equal, and that includes the roles that they play within society. So why do you think you see all this stuff going on about a man can have a baby? You see the agenda that more you see in most melanated men are acting or becoming effeminate. Why do you think you see that? This is the agenda. It's to push the man out of the house so as that the house can come crashing down. So let's go. We got about a couple of more minutes with this. Let's ride.
called gender equality. For the majority, I know that every man and woman on earth does not agree fully with gender equality. But because they agree to certain aspects of it, they allow the full agenda to proceed. Within this agenda,
Did you hear that? He said, a lot of us don't subscribe to the full agenda, but we just subscribe to some of the agenda, and that pushes the whole agenda to go through. This thing say women rights are human rights. What rights do a woman want? The rights is when she ate the fruit. And I'm going to prove that. She wants to be the head. That's right.
you see propaganda promoting this everywhere. It is something that is constantly being pushed on us from many different angles, but I don't think people really recognize it in this way. This is an agenda that is not made for this current world, but one for the new world order that will arise after the Great Reset. What people don't understand is that we are all being conditioned to accept the principles of the new world order. Our young generation is being conditioned to only know the principles of the new world order. It's so important to understand the mental manipulation that is happening to all of us, especially to those who are just asleep to the world we live in. This is an actual agenda that the world is being forced to accept. When I see it, I don't even look at it as a topic that I need to have an opinion on. I know it's propaganda, and I don't allow the mental conditioning to even take hold of my mind. I see it promoted every day, and when I see it, I simply say in my head, oh boy, here they go in number 5 again. You see, maybe you'll go with number 5. Let me explain. That's just one of their 17 goals and priorities of the New World Order. They, of course, don't advertise it in this way, but it most certainly is that when you actually review it and apply the skill of critical thinking. What I'm speaking about is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. You know what I'm talking about? The goals that the countries of the whole world sign and agree to. Regardless of the nation that you live in this world, you are undoubtedly seeing political movements pushing these agendas and propaganda tools like our entertainment to push many of the ideas like number 5. They do not hide this agenda. It's hidden right in plain sight. But the masses have not cared. They have been working on attaining these goals for 20 years since the Millennial Development Goals that ended in 2015. The Millennial Development Goals that ended in 2015 just rolled into the Sustainable Development Goals.
Now y'all go look up the Millennium Development Goals, and you'll see what this brother's talking about. It ended in 2015. It really did, and then this picked up and it started pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. Now they got it right in your face. And now what you gonna do? Let's ride.
Goals that have a goal of implementation by the time of 2030, but it's really according to when the Great Reset occurs. In regards to number 5, let's see exactly what they say. On the website, it says, goal number 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls.
SDG Goal 5, gender equality and empowering women. Max is married to Anna. They have 3 children, Laura, Joe, and Mike. Joe and Mike attend a community school near their home, while Laura stays behind to help her mother with the chores. Max thinks educating Laura is a waste of his resources. After all, Laura will soon be 15 years and marry his friend, John. Although Laura dreams of becoming a lawyer, Max thinks she only belongs in the kitchen. Like Laura, millions of girls around the world are being denied education and equal opportunities as boys. The SDG Goal 5 aims to end all forms of discrimination against women and girls. Women and girls must have equal rights and opportunities and be able to live free of violence and discrimination. Throughout history, women have never been treated equally as men. Women may be better off today but still far from being equal with men. To achieve the SDG 5, states must eliminate practices like child marriages so that girls, like Laura, can enjoy quality education and achieve their dreams. Legislation are not enough. Individuals like you can also help create gender-neutral society for all. Start now.
You see, this is an agenda. It's not by accident that we are seeing all of this propaganda everywhere promoting this way of thinking. We are being promoted a world that they are transforming. They don't even deny it. They tell us consistently that they are transforming our world, but the majority don't understand it. They find goals like ending women violence and agree with that goal enough that it builds support for all the other goals. But we are witnessing a complete change in the way women and men are viewed in this world. We have seen a world that has existed in a certain way for over 6,000 years. But over just 1 century, a mindset that has been held for millennia is now gone and looked at as wrong and evil. This isn't even just a view that was based on your religion or race or nationality. The overall world held this position, and regardless of the other conflicts that we face, within nations, there were families, strong families. This mindset of gender equality is not something that is traditional, but something that has been pushed and promoted in a very direct manner over the 21st century. In particular.
So we're gonna leave it right there. Like I say, y'all go and watch the brother Truth Unedited. And what is number 4? Number 4 is to allow the female. Why does this thing keep doing this? Allow the female to be equal to the male in all capacities. That is the enemy's goal. That's his agenda. Okay? That is the enemy's agenda. Now let me put that down. That's number 4. Excuse me. That's number 4. Is to allow the enemy to, allow females to be equal on all levels with men. That is the agenda. There's no separation from that. Okay? So now let's go back. Let's get into Genesis chapter 3. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 14. Okay, let's go back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 14. And let's look at it real quick. And it says, and this is what it says right here. And the Creator said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above the cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shall thou go, and dust shall thou eat all the days of thy life. Now, if you realize and understand what is really taking place here, is that the Creator is cursing the serpent, because we saw the serpent's agenda. Number 1 was was for the woman to not create a place for the male. Number 2 is to be selfish and worthless when it comes to having a male. Number 3 is not willing to be open or corrected, and number 4 is allow females to be equal on all levels with the male. So he says, because you have done this, you put that mindset in her. You pushed her to that mindset. He says, and thinking, and unto the serpent, meaning thinking towards the serpent, the one who practiced this divination and experience. Because thou hast what? because thou hast done, meaning because you produced this. What is that this? This is the identity, is to identify a specific thing or situation just mentioned. We're talking about the serpent's agenda for the house. Because you done this. See, Eve recognized this thing too late, that she destroyed her house. And now she done built up a whole new attitude within herself. So the Creator is saying, look, because you have done this specific thing. What was this specific thing dealing with the serpent? Number one, Adam did not shut down what Eve was doing. He allowed it. He went against his role by not being the protector, nor the provider, nor the what? Visionary. He failed at that. Number two, Eve went against her husband by connecting herself to another realm other than the realm she was in. So she was no longer the male's helpmeet. She became the helpmeet for something else. That's what was going on. This is what the serpent caused. Number three, now the serpent is now being what? Questioned by, but not questioned, but judged. Because he went between male and female marriage. He went into his neighbor's house. Okay? He went into his neighbor's house. He helped remove the cleaving together. He exploited it and he put a wedge in between it. And that wedge is his agenda. So the Creator said, cursed, thou art what? Cursed. What is that curse? Curse is to wish evil to or to excommunicate. Now, I want you to pay attention to that. The Creator is excommunicating the serpent, or pronounce ill will or fortune, meaning damned. When you use the word D-A-M-D, D-A-M-N-E-D, damned, that's showing what? That you are cursed. You're excommunicated. Meaning to suffer eternal punishment in hell. That's cursed. So the serpent was excommunicating, meaning hell. Let's look at Isaiah 5, 13, and 14. Let's grab that real quick. The serpent was excommunicated. He was no longer able to get inside of the Creator's presence. Isaiah the 5th chapter. Isaiah the 5th chapter, verse 13 and 14. Let's grab that. Because we're gonna look at what hell is. It says, therefore, my people are gone into captivity, because they have what? No knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. Do you realize captivity means you're not controlling anything? Captivity means that you're no longer in charge of your own jurisdiction. The enemy is in captivity. He's going into captivity. Okay? Verse 14 says, therefore hell had enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure. Because you know why? You know why hell opened her mouth without measure? Because it's going to be a lot of people that enter into this position or this place without even knowing what hell really is. See, we think hell is someplace where fire is. you know, like they show you on TV with somebody with a pitchfork, you're burning forever. Nah, that's not hell. Hell is captivity when you don't control the very nature of your own land. That's hell. Hell is the very nature of when you don't control the jurisdiction of who you are. That's why they call you African American. That's why they call you black. That's why they call you Negro. That's why they call you all kind of names, because that is what's considered hell. You don't even have no way of remedy. That's hell. It says hell had enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoices shall descend into it. This is talking about Israel, but I'm using this for the serpent because the serpent had now lost his jurisdiction. Now I want you to pay attention to that, because the serpent is now cursed to hell. The serpent lost his jurisdiction. The serpent is no longer in charge. Okay? But I'm going to show you where the serpent power lies. The Bible says, thou art cursed. So the serpent was excommunicating, meaning hell, meaning something that is what? That is a concealed place, a cave, or a cavern. We're talking about a concealed place, a cave. So the enemy was the one who is a cave dweller. That's the cave dweller. Okay? So the serpent will be away from everything placed into a cave. Meaning the serpent is not going to be connected to anything of whatever realm that serpent is in. He's not going to be connected to that thing. This was his punishment. Everything about the serpent was concealed. And it says above all cattle and above all beasts. The word cattle means the whole and totality of everything. Of livestock with wild beasts. And wild beasts, and the beast means the living and active man and the relatives of man. He's not going to be connected to anything dealing with the cattle or with man. Even the lowest of man, he's not going to be connected to it. Of the field, meaning the land and the plain. So the serpent became less than any and everything on the earth. The serpent is not connected. He's nothing now. Like at the beginning of the chapter 3, it says he was more cunning than any beast of the field. But the Creator is taking that smartness away from him and now cursing him below everything. And it says, and upon thy belly. The word upon is a legal term. This is how you know the serpent is in court. Upon the grounds, or on the grounds of, or on the account of, or on the behalf of. Grounds in law is a rational motive or basis for a belief, conviction, or action taken, such a legal action or argument. So the serpent is being punished in court, judgment. This was legal. So think about it. The only one who can repeal this decision is the one who gave him this punishment. The serpent cannot just remove himself from this punishment. He cannot. He cannot. Think about it. The serpent cannot just remove himself from this punishment. So when he says you're going to be upon thy belly, the belly is the seat of your emotions and the deepest inner parts. The way we talk about the mind, the serpent sensuous part could no longer look upward to the things of the Creator. Because he's cursed. He's cursed to look downward. He's cursed to be at a lower level. I just gave y'all hell had enlarged itself in Isaiah 5:13 and 14. Hell is captivity when you don't control anything of yourself. Everything about you is going to be without knowledge. You're not going to even have knowledge of your own self. You're not going to even have knowledge of the very history or culture of you. Because all that was erased. So when the serpent went upon his belly, his sensuous part could no longer look upward to the things of the Creator, but now downward to the what? To the things of the body and the earth. The serpent was no longer, he could no longer move within the presence of the Creator. So the serpent became infernal, meaning hell. That's why everything about him is now concealed. He has no home. He has no place of rest. That's why you see certain people trying to take the history and the likeness of everyone else. That's the serpent seed. They are in captivity. Let's go to Job 20 and 8. They are the serpent seed. This is why we have to pay attention. Job 20 and 8 says, he shall fly away as a dream. He shall fly away as a dream and shall not be found. Yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. See, he's talking about this. He's talking about the seed of the serpent. He's going to be a dream. He's not going to be real. The only reason why he exists is because you allowing him to exist. I'm going to show you why. Isaiah 29 and 7. I'm going to show you why we allowing him to exist. Isaiah 29 and 7. This is what it says here. We're allowing him to exist. And the multitude of the nation that fights against Ariel, even all that fight against her and her mountain, her munition, and that distress her shall be as a dream of a night vision. See, these people going to vanish. Because it's not meant for certain people to be here. They are here only because you are out of place. Habakkuk 2 and 4. They only exist is because you are out of place. If Eve would have never sat there and listened and had a conversation with the serpent, then guess what? They'll still be home. They'll still be in their realm. Habakkuk 2 and 4. This is what it says. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him. But the just shall live by faith. See, there are certain people whose soul is not upright in them. There's certain people whose soul is not upright in them because they have been cursed to the cave. Everything about them is concealed. So what do they have to cling to? What do they have to pay attention to or to connect themselves to if everything about them was concealed? Because that's part of the curse. Ecclesiastic cuss. Let's go to the Sirach. Sirach, the 4th chapter, verse 17 through 20. Sirach, the 4th chapter, verse 17 through 20. Sirach, the 4th chapter, verse 17 through 20. And this is what it says. Excuse me. He says, I will walk with them in disgust, in disguise. And at first I will test them with trials. Fear and dread I will bring upon them. And I will discipline them with my constraints when their hearts are fully with me. See? Everything about you has to be tested. Are you ready to enter back into the rim that you walked through, that your ancestors walked away from? Or are you just trying to get back there simply because you say that's what you are? The Creator is not going to just allow you to be back, just get back and come back. You have to be tested. Meaning the life of you, the very nature of you is going to be tested, rather not if that's something that you choose to want to do. Some of us, we just like you go to church. You got people who just go to church. Like a lot of Israelites, they just celebrate the Sabbath because that's what they do. Because it's said in the Bible to keep the Sabbath. But they're not really constrained from the sins that they're doing. They're not constrained from the sins that they're doing. Verse 18 says, then I will set them again on a straight path. See, after you've been proven, then you will get set back on a straight path. See, Adam had to prove himself, and I'm going to prove that. He just can't come back to the garden just because he's Adam. Israel can't come back to the promised land just because they're Israel. You have to be proven to enter back into the things of the Creator. Then I will set you again on a straight path and reveal my secrets to them. See, a lot of us, the secrets is not being revealed because you're not on a straight path. You're following the agenda of the serpent. Verse 19 says, but if they turn away from me, I will abandon them and deliver them over to robbers. Why do you think you end up following and end up dragging people around you that really is no good? Because you had the opportunity to come in, but you chose to abandon the law. That's what Adam and Eve did, and it costed them. Just like it's costing a lot of us today. It's costing us today. Verse 20, my son, watch for the right time. Fear what is evil. Watch for the right time. That means you got to be in the right frame of mind to be able to know when the right time comes. Like Steve Harvey said in that video, a lot of times women don't even know when they have a good man. They don't know. But they'll go and continue on doing what they've been doing. Watch for the right time. Fear what is what? Evil. Things that's out of the will. Fear that thing. Get away from it. Run away from it. Do not bring shame upon who? Yourself. By wanting to be a part of something because everybody else is doing it. Separate yourself from those things. Separate yourself from those things. There is a shame heavier with guilt. There is a shame heavy with guilt. And a lot of us, we carry that guilt upon our shoulders because of that shame that we are trying to hide. That's why it's good to be open. It's good to be open. And a shame that brings glory and respect. So you got to be careful when you to not do, you got to pay attention for the right time and get away from evil. And do not bring shame upon yourself. But Eve didn't do that. She brought shame to her house. So the enemy is being cursed on his belly because he tore up a marriage, a house. He destroyed a house. And he said, therefore, thou shalt go, upon thy belly, thou shalt go, meaning you are going to die. You're going to depart. Upon thy belly, you're going to die. You're going to eat and dust. That word dust means rubbish. Meaning the waste material, refuse or litter, criticize severely and reject as worthless. So this particular nation, the serpent's nation, is going to eat things that is worthless to the Creator. And if the Creator, and if the serpent can give it to you, he's going to give it to you. He's going to allow you to eat it. Feed on it. And rubbish thou shalt eat, meaning you're going to devour it. You're going to consume it all the days of thy life. The totality of your lifetime. And your relatives shall eat rubbish. They're not going to be able to get into the presence of the Creator no more. That's done. It's over. You're in a cave. Everything about you is concealed. This is what we don't pay attention to. Everything about you is concealed. There's nothing good about you. There's nothing good about you. Verse 15 says what? And I will put enmity between thy seed and between you and the serpent. Now notice what is still taking place. The creator is still cursing the serpent. The serpent is still in the courtroom. Okay? Still in the courtroom, family. And verse 15 says, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. So now watch this. I will put, meaning station or appoint. The Creator's telling the serpent, I'm going to put or appoint or station enmity. Enmity, meaning hatred. That is an intense dislike or ill will. These two people, the Creator's telling, the divine one is telling the serpent, this, y'all not gonna stand each other. And that word between means in the midst of. The woman, meaning the wife, and you, meaning the serpent. Thee is the serpent and the woman is the wife. They're not going to stand each other. And I'm going to show you why in the curse dealing with the woman. They're not going to stand each other. They're not going to be able to stand each other. Between, or which means in the midst of what? Thy seed, meaning your offspring, descendants, or posterity, meaning your generation line. And between, meaning in the midst of what? Her seed. Same thing. So you telling me the woman got a seed? So the woman now got a seed, according to the Bible. No, the woman don't have a seed. The woman do not have a seed. The Creator appointed, meaning a particular of a time or a place, decided or beforehand designated. So a set time was put in place, meaning a set time for that dislike to take place between the woman seed and the serpent seed that was put in for a particular time. That just didn't happen when the Creator spoke it. That thing it developed over a period of time. The human egg, which is a female seed, which is the female seed. That's what they say. The human egg is the female seed. It is a large cell that is produced within the female reproductive cells to enable reproduction. So the female, what they say her seed is that egg. But the female literally does not have a seed. But when the Creator said her seed, that is a curse. I want y'all to pay attention to that. That is a curse. That's a curse. That's not no blessing. But we say, oh, but not we, because I used to believe that. But you hear a lot of people, especially in the churches in some of these Hebrew Israelite groups, they say, oh, that's the beginning of Jesus. Is it? Or Yahushua, Yahusha. Is it? The female don't have a seed. But when the Creator said her seed, that is a curse. Why? Because the woman does not give the child back to the father or connect the child back to the father. That's what the Creator was saying. Her seed. When the male give the seed to her, she does not give the rest of she does not give the result of the seed back to the male. She keeps the child away from the father. What do I mean by keeping the child away from the father? What does that mean? Does that mean she don't let the child see the father, visit the father, know the father? No. What that's saying is that the child don't understand the vision of the father. Now, like I showed y'all in the videos earlier, we're not talking about these no good guys that don't tend to their child. We're not talking about them. We're talking about a man with a vision, a man who protects, a man who professes. Who provide. That's what we're talking about. The wife does not give the child back to the father, meaning to allow the father's vision in that house to be known. That's what not giving the child back. The child grows up not knowing the vision. That's the seed of the woman. Malachi 4:6. Let's grab it real quick. The word this thing just do. Malachi 4:6. Let's grab it real quick. The child does not know the vision of the father.
I have it.
Go ahead.
Malachi 4:6. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse.
So if the child don't have the mind of the father, and the father does not turn his mind back to his child, there's a curse on the earth. There's a curse. There's a curse on the earth. Let's look at Isaiah 3:12. There's a curse on this earth. And this is what Isaiah 3:12 says. See, because we got to remember and we got to realize there's a curse that's on this earth when the female blocks the child from getting the vision of the father. Go ahead. Go ahead if you got it. Go ahead.
As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy paths.
So you see that. The path is destroyed because you have weak people who don't supposed to be in leadership leading. This is the problem. Let's go to 2nd Esdras 5:8 in the Apocrypha. We got weak people leading who don't supposed to be in leadership. Just because you got a little bit of knowledge and just because you got a little bit of understanding and just because you know this and that does not make you a leader for a nation. This is the problem that we have and we've been having for a long time. Verse 8 said, there shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be oft sent out again, and the wild beasts shall change their place, and monstrous women shall bring forth monsters. This is single women. Single women who don't understand their place. And and you got these Pookies and Ray Rays going around having sex with these women and bringing forth children without having, and these children grow up with no vision and no purpose. And this is the reason why we having a community problem. It's because the enemy set his agenda right in the midst of your community, and you refuse to even talk about it. There's no protector. There's no provider. Men today don't even know how to be a man today. They think they do. They follow after TV, radio. And then they have no agenda. They have no agenda. And then we wonder why. We wonder why a lot of the men, a lot of the houses has crumbled. It's because we haven't yet gotten to the point of actually what you call it? Of actually admitting the enemy's agenda. They put the agenda right in your face. The agenda is sitting in your face. And this is why we don't understand what's really taking place. So let's get into another video. I'm not going to get the whole video. Let's get into another video. And this right here is this is Truth Edit again. Truth Unedited again. And like I say, this brother got some very good, powerful videos. And it's called Where Have All the Men Gone? A real discussion about men and the war waged against them. Where have all the men gone? So let's get into it. Past this commercial. Fair use. Like I say, get with this brother, critique, criticize, and to teach. This is not my material. I don't own none of this material. But like I say, go make sure y'all go to Truth Unedited. This brother has some very powerful, very powerful information. And we're gonna get into it. Let's ride.
All the men. What happened to us, and where do we go? These are questions that I have been asking myself continuously over the past few years. It's more rhetorical because I already know the answers. This subject right here is one that is very difficult for me to deal with, because I know that it is a huge reason why the world has been able to be overtaken in the way that it has been. It's also a very difficult topic to cover because of how far we have come in society away from traditional values. Liberalism has taken over and silently has created a new way the world should be. And if you have not been exposed to all the truth surrounding it, a topic like this may be hard to hear. So because of that, I do expect a lot of pushback in what I have to say. All I ask before you react is to please try to hear me out completely. Over the last century, the role of man has been challenged, reduced, and now it has been changed. And we are now at a point in time where people don't understand the differences between a man and a woman. People can't even explain what the difference is from a aspect.
This is one of the problems with this left-wing gender ideology, is that no one who espouses it can even tell you what these words mean. It's like, what is a woman?
Well,
can you tell me what a woman is?
No, I can't. Because it's not for me to say. Womanhood looks different for everybody.
And today?
Now, listen to what this dude just said. Womanhood is different, looks different from everyone. Like I keep trying to tell y'all what the agenda is. What the agenda is. The agenda is to crash the house that the Creator built. That's what the agenda is. And the female is running, she's running behind that thing. They can't even identify what is a woman's role. Let's ride.
What people have classified as gender roles have now been mixed, and you can be deemed as being against society if you stick to the purpose of what men and women were created originally for. You are looked at as sexist or not with the times or whatever else. I am personally completely sick over it all, and something needs to be said about it. Last month in June, when Roe v. Wade was reversed, all you heard in the media is that there was a war against women. But in reality, there is actually a war against men, and it has been extremely effective and crippling.
Now, notice what he said. There is a war against men. Because why? The women say, my body, my choice. What, did you make that baby yourself? Where did the baby come from? It came from you and a male having sex. So now it's up to you to disregard or say, I can get rid of this baby. So the male don't have a choice in that. But if you decide to keep that baby, you can put that male on child support. You see how that works? But if you kill the baby, the male can't charge you for murder. See how that works? See how that works? It's a game. It's the enemy's agenda is to crash the house. It's a game. That's right.
This war on men has been a major victory for those that desire to subdue and conquer the population of this earth. Last year, I made a video about feminism. And that subject was very important to cover because, like I said in the video, this world is completely upside down. And the most disturbing part to it all is the fact that the majority does not realize it. If you attempt to bring this up and highlight the delusion, you can be silenced and portrayed as a speaker of hate or discrimination. And I want to make it clear that though you may disagree with me and you may feel my views are outdated, I do not hate you nor discriminate against you. In that video, I carefully try to tackle the topic of feminism. We discussed the women empowerment movement, not to bring women down, but to do the opposite and uplift them. In that video, many women understood what it was I was communicating, and the message was received. But many also requested that I spoke to the men as well, because they thought I was putting the fault or blame on the issue squarely on women. But I was not. I have always desired to speak on this issue, but it had to be done correctly, and by the leading of the Most High. So it's time to speak to the men of this world and bring some truth out in the open. There is only power in the truth, and the truth is what has been lost in this upside down world. So I would again like to use this soapbox to bring attention to the truth and cast down the lies. Let's begin. Okay, so here's the deal. If you don't see that there has been a war waged against men, then I sincerely ask that you hear me out before you rebuke my claim and label it as absurd or false. You see, the war against men isn't about women against men. It's not about hatred against gender or anything like that. When you hear thoughts like that, it's only to cause division and distraction. The war against men is about achieving the exact same goal that the women empowerment movement is about. It is a war that has been waged in the minds of the unsuspecting public for years, and is easily.
Did you see how effeminate he looked juggling the barbells on the boy? Let's keep riding.
Seen to be a complete agenda against humanity as a whole. It should not be viewed in the eyes of anti-men or pro-women. Do not look at it through those lenses. Hear this clearly. You are missing the point by looking at it from the perspective from those, the ones who are provoking the war, if you're understanding things from the perspective that they would like you to see it through. In my video about feminism, I went over the actual agenda. If you have not watched that video, please watch it so you can understand this issue from the other side of the same coin. In that video, I explained the thought process around feminism and women empowerment. And then I covered the real agenda that it was all about. In this video, before I go into explaining about the war on men, I think it's important to understand why this war is being waged.
Drinking warm water before.
All right, we want to get around this commercial, y'all. So y'all give me a minute. I want to get around this commercial.
Like I said, it's about achieving this. Empowering women is about obtaining the same goal that goes along with the pro-abortion and pro-same-sex marriage agenda. Now, of course, the ultimate goal is all about rebellion against the Most High. We are created beings and made in God's image. He designed us both, man and woman. He gave us different roles and different characteristics. We were not made equally. For instance, on our chest, a woman has breasts and a man does not. And our genitalia is different. They are not equal. A child that was born a man has never had the ability to birth a child, ever. This is a role only given to women, and therefore there is a difference between genders. The understanding of what are now called gender roles basically goes into what you believe. If you're an atheist or a Satanist, or there's no real label on what you believe, but you just don't believe in the Bible specifically, then it's possible your view may or may not differ with the understanding that those who believe in the Bible believe. What I'm saying is that if you believe that we are all created beings and we have a creator, and you believe what the Bible says about creation, then there can only be one view about gender roles. If you don't believe that, then your view can be anything else. But in reference to the Bible, we can find it spoken about in the chapter of the first Genesis chapter 2. Who Elohim said, "It is not that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him." That's Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. Verse 20 says, "So Adam gave names to all cattle, to the birds of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam, there was not found a helper comparable to him. And Yahuwah Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. Then the rib which Yahuwah Elohim had taken from man, he made into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And Adam said, 'This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh.' He called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. That's Genesis chapter 2, verses 21 to 25. You see, there was not anything else in the garden that could be a helper to Adam. Yah did not like that Adam was alone. And so he took from Adam and made who was Eve. She was made as a helper to Adam. Not a slave, not a servant, but she is his helper. It's important to understand that this role was never reversed. What I mean by that is, there's no scripture in the Bible that says the man is the woman's helper. Now, please understand that is not said to diminish or lower a woman's value. There are just different roles for men and women. And this has always been the way the world has been for the majority of our time. Men have been the providers, and women took care of the home and raised the children. Unfortunately, today, when you say something like this, people will say that this view is sexist or belittling women. That is only because our values and our way of life have changed so drastically over this last century that everything now today is backwards. In the past, this point wasn't something that was debatable. When people had to hunt for their food, when they had to protect their homes and villages from enemies seeking to conquer, nothing had to be said. It wasn't debated whether the women or the men should. I mean, even when the Titanic was sinking, it's not like they were drawing straws between the men, women, and children. No.
For the time being, I shall require only women and children.
Men have always had different roles. Men hunted for the food and raised their sons to help them, and they fought the wars. They can make all the movies there, but then the women raised the children and took care of the needs for the man, so that the man could do what he needed to do for the family. This was the circle. This was the way. If the man died, the sons would take care of their mom. This was the way things worked. But now, in this controlled, civilized world, roles are now able to be challenged because there is no longer hunting for food. This whole challenging of roles has only become because the world has changed. Again, we're no longer hunting for food. We're going to the market and purchasing food with money. The revive is not about strength and skill of it. It's about how much money one has or how much money one earns.
Now, I want y'all to pay attention to that. He said it's not about your skills of you making sure that your house is maintained. It's now about money. Money is the thing that makes you successful, not the abilities that's in you. You see how they took that away from you? Let's go on down. I'm gonna skip and then we're gonna keep it moving.
The system was built around money, and it is money that brings the thought of value and purpose in this world now. And as long as women are able to earn, she's able to now be a provider and put food on the table.
So now you see how how the enemy agenda is now manifesting itself full-fledged in your face. As long as the woman can do what you do, she can now stand up to you and say, I'm just like you. Understand the agenda. Or I'm greater than you. Let's keep going.
And as technology has grown, jobs that were once done primarily by men, many of these jobs have been taken away now because robots and computers are able to replace workers. That's changing the workforce forever.
And I want you to pay attention to that as well. Robots are taking the place of you providing. So what do a lot of women do now? When they say, I don't need a man, they got robots. Hint, hint, robots. To take the place of you. That's why I say you better understand this agenda. Let's keep going.
Making office work more financially rewarding than blue-collar jobs of the past. So now that money is the great measurement tool of our day, money is now the determining factor of our gender roles.
Now, did you catch that? Money is the determining factor of your agenda role. So if I'm making money, if I was a female that's making money, if I was a female or a female that's making money, that determines my role in the house now. Y'all don't see the enemy's agenda? Let's go.
Today, money determines who should be the provider and who is the man in the relationship. We find that men are no longer leading their households because all of a sudden the women are making more than the men.
So are you catching that? And y'all don't see the enemy's role. Y'all don't see his agenda. And y'all don't understand why the creator cursed him. This is an epidemic. But ain't nobody gonna call it that. Because nobody wants to tackle that. Yeah, we'll talk about it, but we ain't gonna really go after it. That's right.
And to many of these women, not all, but to many, they feel that to be submissive is degrading and bringing women down.
See, and that's the reason why that's the reason why a lot of women act the way they act. Because, see, I could go out there and do the same thing you do now. I got equal rights like you. I could go into the military and fight on the front line like you. I can now be a referee in the NFL like you. I could play football like you. I could play basketball like you. See? It's comparing themselves to you as a male. But we don't think that's an agenda. Let's ride.
And from all of that, we see women are now saying that they don't need a man.
See, they say they don't need you now. They don't need you.
Now, there's so much more that goes with this, but this is just an overview of the situation. All of that is just cause and effect. But again, what is the point to this agenda? I said earlier, the war against men is about achieving the exact goal empowerment is all about. It goes along with the pro-abortion and pro-same-sex marriage agenda.
Recordings just got better. Hey.
All of these agendas accomplish? I mean, it's really simple. They reduce the population of the earth. Understand this. If you understand that we have a creator, and on the flip side, the economy was not always of men, especially in the Black community. The rise of women in the labor force was not about a change in ideals and women empowerment. It was about a few different factors, first and primary being inflation. As the value of the dollar began to decrease, the more demand there was for two-income households. In order to afford their lifestyle, women had to leave their homes and get jobs. And along with that, new technologies like the telephone and enhanced typewriters contributed to an increased demand for clerical workers.
So now look what he just said. As technology increased, women had to leave their homes to get work. The man is already out the house. Now the woman is now leaving the house. Think about that. The female is now leaving. So where's the children? Where's the children? I told you it's about the house. It's about the house, family. Let's go.
And those jobs were increasingly taken by women. Understand, when all this was happening, this was not about women empowerment. This was about economics. Women were filling in the role the economy needed them to fill. And it's important that's understood. Big business was the main spark to the women's right and feminist movement. It was about profits and filling in the wage gaps that was created after the war. Inflation. And as this trend, feminist movement is transforming the minds of women. As more women started going to college and getting college degrees, they began to become equal as their male counterparts who were seeking the same goals.
So what happens when a woman become equal to the male counterpart? What happens to that? What happens to a woman who becomes equal to a man who's seeking for the same thing? It becomes now a game.
Sometimes she may not have that much
I can't hear
respect
you.
for them.
I can't hear you.
Sometimes she may not have that much respect for him because she feels that she's just on the same path as he is, if not greater.
That's right. That's right.
And that can cause conflict.
There you go. The conflict is there now. Because remember, his purpose, one of his purpose was to not have room for the male in the house. And we don't get it. Let's go.
The focus of women shifted from finding a husband, getting married, and starting a family to now getting their career started and earning a living for themselves.
See, it wasn't no more about the house. It now became about them. I got to get my career now. It ain't about no having no children. Bunk that. Ain't about no children. Nah, I'm good. I got to get this bag. And the girlfriends in the background saying, me too. Let's go.
Careers started to take the priority over families. And direct consequence of this agenda, it affected families as a whole, because women went from being caretakers of their families to now sending them to public schools in order for the system to have more control over their child's mind than the parents did.
Is that not the agenda? See, the woman already bumped the man out the way. Now she's in challenge. Now she's racing against the same man that she's married to. She's racing against him. She's racing and competing against her counterpart. She's out of the homes. Now what's taking place? The children is vulnerable. Who's raising your child? Who's raising your child? There's no one to protect that child. And Proverbs 123 says what? 127 verse 3. The seed is the reward of the creator. That's his inheritance. Proverbs 22:6 says, train the child in the way that they should go. You're supposed to train the child in the laws of the creator and in the mindset of that father's vision. But now she become a career-bound person. Not saying she shouldn't. But who protects the child? Let's go.
And so then we later see, after a generation of women going to work, a majority of the children were now under the care of the state, for more hours than they were with their own parents. So if you just think about it for yourself, by consequence of this, who now have more access and control over the minds of the children of our future? This was all by design. And on the flip side, the economy was not always on the side of men, especially in the Black community. It was hard for men to find jobs to support their own families. And the system was so messed up that it only paid food stamps and provided government assistance if a man was not living in the household.
I want to be able to buy myself a car, and buy myself one of them new apartments or a new house, you know, that they're going to bring into the neighborhood for low-income families. I want to be able to do all those things. You know, I want to be able to live a normal life like that. You know, I don't want to have to just start, you know, scheming, you know, and driving people for money and for jobs, and you know, I don't want to go back to that.
We will tighten welfare and give more attention to outside sources of income when determining the amount of welfare an individual is allowed.
Not to mention that as lust filled our television sets and advertisers started putting skinny models in bikinis on our billboards, men's desire for what a woman was supposed to be like changed, and divorces began to rise.
Oh. Did we catch that? Did we catch that? Did we catch that? See, we don't want our women now because they now got your mind. They got your mind, family. They got your mind. They got your mind. They now got your mind, family. Into what type of woman they want you with. See, your wife is no longer pleasurable no more for you because they done got control of you, of how a woman's supposed to look for you. You see the agenda of the enemy? He's controlling the very house that you're in. The house. Let's go.
But listen, I could go on and on with the problems that contribute to the masculinity in our world. But as the role of men began, blurred and the role of protector and provider of a family got skewed, the devil has had more free reign to wreak havoc. The more single-parent households we had with homes absent of fathers, the more children there were that were raised without understanding of what a man was supposed to be.
Did you catch that? See, it takes the man to show the child what a man is. But there was no man there to teach that.
It is very hard for women to raise up strong men because they themselves are not one. And this.
But you have women that today who tries to raise a man to be a man. A woman can't do that. But some of these women today, you can't tell them you can't raise a man, a boy to a man, because that's not your role. But some of them think that they can. That's right.
Attack on men has weakened our society and has left us completely vulnerable to spiritual, mental, and physical attacks. I mean, for me, I'm seeing men showing how they will only want you to feed their child, even though the mom has other children. For me, it's one of the most frustrating and evil things for me to see. Please have your sons hear this as well. So, being a man, it first starts with responsibility. Remember that word. This is major because it goes along with so many other issues and topics. The point of being a man is being responsible and accountable. As a man, you are responsible for yourself. You're responsible for your wife. And if you're not married, your woman, your children, and your community. What happens in your life, you are responsible for. We can't just shift blame as a man. We can't look to blame the other man or the other people against us. We are men.
And that's what Adam did. He shifted the blame on the wife. He didn't take responsibility. That's right.
As men, we must know that we have enemies, seen and unseen. We are not victims to our circumstances. We are responsible on how we deal with them. We are responsible for what we do and what we don't do, how we respond and how we don't respond, what we pay attention to and what we ignore. There is a problem with men today because they do not want to take responsibility. They want to shift blame as soon as possible because they don't like feeling uncomfortable. Irresponsibility is a plague amongst us men, and we like to casually shift blame and responsibility to everyone else except ourselves. We must be responsible and hold ourselves accountable to it. You are responsible for yourself, you're responsible for your wife, you're responsible for your children, and you're responsible for your community. And understand this clearly. Your life is more than being responsible to make money for yourself and be a baller. You're responsible for yourself, your wife, your children, and your community because Yah made you the head. In his eyes, there is a hierarchy. And if you do not recognize this, this is where the problem will begin. It is Yahusha the Messiah.
Well, we're gonna dodge that hijack. Let's skip on. We ain't trying to get to that. We don't get down with all that. Let's do this right here.
Love our family and our friends and our neighbors. Showing love is not a weakness. It is a strength, and as a man, you must be responsible for showing that love and being an example of it. Think about how the world is today, how cold everyone is to each other. You think things would be like this if men stood in the majority and showed the strength they had by loving Yah, loving their women, by loving their children, and loving their neighbors? Nowadays, we're lucky if we can get a man to show love to 2 of those 4.
Wow.
Love is not a weakness. It is a strength that only a real man can show.
I hope y'all
We are
catching that.
responsible for being representatives of Yah's word, and we cannot do this without love. At one of them, a lawyer asked him a question, testing him and saying, "Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law?" Evil is real. People with a lot of power and control over you that wish to do you harm, along with your women, along with your family and your community. And as a man, it is your job to be a wall of defense against it. Monitor the content being watched in your home, and that goes for yourself too. Know exactly what it is your child is learning at school. Ask them questions.
Do we do that? Do we monitor what's being played in our house, or what our children is learning in school? Do we do that? Do we quiz our children at what is being taught in schools? A lot of us are too busy. Let's ride.
Know their friends. Keep them off of social media until they're at an acceptable age. If they cannot drive, they shouldn't be on social media. You have no idea what that algorithm is presenting them. Watch and monitor the streaming channels they have, and look what it is that they are streaming. Take the televisions out of their bedrooms, and don't let them sleep with their phones. I can keep going on and on. Be a protector and take this responsibility seriously. If your family is falling apart and evil seems to be prevalent in your home, it's because you are not properly guarding and protecting yourself and them.
So there you go. That's another thing. A lot of men don't want to accept. If things is falling apart, it's because the man is out of order. The male is out of order. Okay, that's right.
A real man guards and protects their family from all danger. Yes, physically, but also mentally and spiritually. And those are the biggest attacks being waged against us all. Now, you're also responsible to teach them. Now, when I say teach, I'm not talking about school lessons. But if you are able, homeschool is always a great option that I recommend. If you have to, downsize your life in order to control what your children are learning.
Notice he say downsize your life, men. That means you got to pay attention, monitor what you're doing. You can't always be busy. That's right.
But when I speak of teaching, I'm talking about lessons. Whatever you have learned as a man growing, whether from your successes or your failures, what you have seen from others, what has been passed down to you, you must teach it to your family. Teach them how to love, being an example of this. If they see this from you, they will follow. Teach them how to protect by being the example they are to follow. In this world, it's all about fathers not protecting their homes and teaching their families. And so our children go out and make the same mistakes that we did. Generational curses continuing to thrive because we are not being strong enough to break them.
And the reason why we're not strong enough is because a lot of people like to dodge away from the truth of themselves, of how they came up. They tries to hide their life away from their children. Tell your child who you are and what you did so they won't make the same mistakes. If your father was a deadbeat, hell, why are you a deadbeat? This is a generational curse. That's right.
The Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6. And we should take this proverb very seriously and live by it. We must teach our families about Yah. Don't wait for the preacher man to do it. Don't wait for school to do it. Duty, inspiration to know, to honor, and to submit to the Most High. And the world that we live in, that is in complete rebellion, has gone so dark because us as men are not taking this charge and responsibility serious enough.
So when your house is out of order, it's because, men, you haven't done your part. You haven't done your part. That's what Adam did. He accompanied Eve. And when he accompanied Eve, what happened? He allowed that because he made her feel comfortable at what she was doing. So it's not always the female's problem, it's a male's problem as well. Because if Adam was doing what he was supposed to, Eve could not have employed him. So Adam could have blamed the female all he wanted to, but it was his responsibility because he chose her and he chose to ignore what she brought to him. He didn't investigate that thing. So if you got children, your job is to protect them as much as possible. But we get too busy because we're trying to do what? Run the rat race in the system. Couple more minutes. Let's ride.
You are responsible for teaching them about Yah and introducing them to his ways. People feel they're more responsible to teach their children more about wickedness and rebellion than they are to teach them about Yah. And it's just wrong and backwards. You are responsible to establish an environment that is safe for them to carry on and walk in biblical values. You are responsible for creating an environment that they know that they should not go in certain directions because you will correct it and punish accordingly. Just as our Father corrects us when we stray, we must do the same for our families. What was taken out of our homes, especially in single-parent homes, was a father's firm discipline and his unquestioned authority. Even in two-parent households, mothers began to question the father's authority and his choices. He trained up a child in the way he should
Let's
go.
hear this again.
And when
Let's
he
hear
is
this
old,
again.
he will
Let's
not
hear
depart
this
from it.
again.
That's
Pay
Proverbs chapter
attention
22,
to what
verse
happened
6.
in the homes.
And we should take this proverb very seriously and live by it. We must teach our families about Yah. Don't wait for the preacher man to do it. Don't wait for Sunday school to do it. As a man, you are the spiritual leader of your home, and it is your charge and duty to raise up the next generation to know, to honor, and to submit to the Most High. And the world that we live in, that is in complete rebellion, has gone so dark because us as men are not taking this charge and responsibility serious enough. You are responsible for teaching them about Yah and introducing them to his ways. People feel they're more responsible to teach the children more about wickedness and rebellion than they are to teach them about Yah. And it's just so wrong and backwards. You are responsible to establish an environment that is safe for them to carry on and walk in biblical values. You are responsible for creating an environment that they know that they should not go in certain directions because you will correct it and punish accordingly. Just as our Father corrects us when we stray, we must do the same for our families. What was taken out of our homes, especially in single-parent homes, was a father's firm discipline and his unquestioned authority. Even in parent households, mothers began to question the father's authority and his choices. He began to be second-guessed in his own home and became emasculated. As men, I understand this is a problem, and we must learn how to deal with this better.
That's Deuteronomy 23:1. I went over that last week. You cannot emasculate your man. That is a problem. That's a problem. Let's go.
Because oftentimes our women do not know that they are doing this. For me, my wife would often find herself thinking she's protecting our sons, but what she was doing was crippling and enabling them, reducing the role of the father who was raising them to be strong. I had to work through this in my marriage, and we all as men must be strong enough to work through it ourselves. We cannot leave the homes and our responsibilities because the women have made it difficult for us. I know this is hard to hear, but it just needs to be said. But you're taught that a man provides for his family, and you are right. Unfortunately, we live in a world that is attacking men, and they do not want you to be a man. Just because you may not be where you want to be financially does not mean that that must stop you from being who you should be, independent from money. All of the things I mentioned earlier so far has nothing to do with money. Do not let your lack of money or resources give you an excuse to be less of a man than you should be. The system was designed to make us this way.
So I'm not the smartest guy in the world.
We're going to stop right there. You can finish watching the video. Let's go ahead on the finish up here. And we're going to go back to Genesis, and we're going to close out, and we're going to pick up part 9 next week. We're going to pick up part 9 next week. We're going to go back to Genesis, the 3rd chapter. And see, you got to know the responsibilities for being a man. See, it's not so much of, of me making money. It's what am I teaching my child, and what am I allowing my child to be taught? Am I really protecting my house? Or is my house being protected by everything else except me? So the creator is cursing the serpent. Okay? And as he's cursing the serpent, we in verse 15, he's saying, I will bring enmity between her and the woman. To see, the woman don't have a seed. The man has the seed. And for the man having the seed, what does that mean? So why would a creator say, curse be the seed of the woman? What seed do the woman have? What seed does the woman have? She don't have a seed. She have the seed that the man puts in her. Okay? Meaning it. It. What is the it? Meaning the seed of the woman. Desire. Bruise means desire. To be thy head. See, the woman is going to desire to be the upper part. She's going to desire to be the chief. The top. And the serpent curse is, and thou shalt bruise thy heel. See, the serpent is going to desire the heel of the female. And the heel of the female is the hinder part, the footprint, meaning the part to follow closely behind its owner. The serpent is going to follow behind the female. He's going to be the puppet master. I'm showing y'all the puppet master. And he's creating all kind of webs that is being pushed out into the society. In the garden. The woman going to desire to be the chief, the top, the head. And the serpent is going to desire to follow the footsteps of the female. To make sure he keeps her off balance. Let's grab one more video and we're closing. It's called Where to All Black Men, the Message You Need to Hear. We're going to close on this video. We're not going to watch the whole thing. We're going to close on this one. This is the judgment. This is the judgment. I'm going to get to the end of this video. Let me get out of this. Close this down. Let me stop it. I'm just going to get to the end of the video. We're not going to watch the whole video. And we're going to close out. I'm going to start right here at 2002. No, I'm going to start at 1906 and we're going to ride. Hold on.
Hip hop culture began, and this was something that we.
Well, I think their aim is
Here we
mixed
go.
marriages and
I'm starting at 1735 and we're going to ride.
We have our home here, and if the coloreds move in and run real estate values down, there are a lot of us, the GIs particularly, who are going to be more or less stuck with their homes.
The point I'm making is black men were products of their environments and were being emasculated. And they were no longer taking responsibility in dealing with the circumstances, but they became victims of their circumstances. And when men tried to create something outside of the system, this was quickly squashed and suppressed. It was very.
So did you hear he say every time we was products of our situation, our environment, and every time we try to create something that made better for us, look on the video who shows up. Look who shows up. That's because you are in captivity. You don't control that. You are in hell. That's right.
Go for the black man during these times, we cannot point fingers at them. These were highly oppressive and deceptive times. So let's keep going. Now we're in the 80s, and the system is still the enemy. But you know what happened? The system already knew what they were doing, and they decided now they could really recreate the black man. There was no real in the black community, in the black homes. And our real heroes were corrupted, whether they were in the church, abandoning the Bible, preaching a social gospel, whether they were in the streets pushing drugs, being paid to destroy their communities from within, or they were already controlled through organizations like Prince Hall Freemasonry and the Black Boule.
So you see that there was no real so-called melanated man. There was no real so-called melanated man. The so-called, because there was no fathers in the homes back during the 60s and 70s. A lot of stuff was being planned and being run because why? This is how they destroyed the households. Let's go.
The government placed guns and crack in our communities and allowed our communities to severely decline. Then from the rise of mass media, the system went into our neighborhoods and picked our enemies and made them our heroes.
He said, what? Pick our enemies and made them your hero. How in the hell your enemy can become your hero? And still today, your enemy is your hero. Let's go.
The birth of gangster rap and hip hop culture began, and this was something that we really felt like it was our own. But because we didn't understand the system, we didn't know that these heroes that were being presented to us were just tools of the same system that we were against. They used our own people as a Trojan horse to overcome us.
What did he say? Your own people. Your own people became a Trojan horse to destroy you. Your own people. Not an outside force. The same thing in the garden. Eve wanted to be the head. And it took the woman to bring that man down. Let's go.
Black culture, and it created a sense of immaturity in our black men that you may have placed posters of them on your walls. You watched their videos, adapted to their style, brought their clothes, went to the parties, lyrics, adapted their jokes, dressed them, on their values, said you were going to make dead presidents represent you as well. All of these so-called heroes were and are, in fact, your enemies. They don't care about you. They care about themselves. The reason why they were so easily recruited is because they were already proven to not care. That's why they were selling drugs to their own community. The same way they can sell crack in their own community, destroying our mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, and felt no way about it, is the same way they feel no becoming a pay millions by destroying the community with the promotion of debauchery and filth. And guess what? We all ate it up. They were being made rich to destroy our communities from within, and we were cheering it on. Our fathers were no longer in the home, and these men became our role models. It was a geniusly executed sinister plan against us. And most of us men, still in our 40s, still can't shake it off from us. And to add to this, they emasculated these men and made them do ritual homosexual acts. This is a rite of passage in order to be in the system. Is why we have seen all of our prominent men in dresses. I really address what's going on. These black men who we made our role models and heroes are complete sellouts. And they damage you and I as black men. And it is our responsibility to protect the next generation. But we have not, and this younger generation is even worse than before. So now we have guys like Little Nas X in the lap dance, or Russell with a clothing line wearing a Tamish. Black men in America have been conquered, and it's time that you hear it and understand it. You have been overcome and demasculated to a point where our sons no longer know what a man is any longer, and they are completely soft. The women are right now stronger than the men, which is why you are seeing movies about women warriors. The same system you thought you were rebelling against in hip-hop with NWA promoting aggression against the police, this same system that you thought you were rebelling against actually conquered you. And you celebrate.
Now I want you to hear that. The same system you thought that we was rebelling against, it's the same system that conquered you. And they use your own people to do it. Or people that look like you. We about done. 5 more minutes, we'll be over. Let's go.
The sellouts who they used. Yes, there is an agenda about emasculation. But it is us specifically as Black men that this agenda has been targeted at the most, because it was our strength that they could not deal with. So understand what they did, and I will skim through it again briefly. After they gave us an illusion of freedom, they lured us into this system, gave us jobs, and allowed us to get educations, promoted some of their controlled bourgeois Negroes, and placed them as our goals to ascend to. After that program set in mind, with all those same opportunities, they promoted agendas that removed the women out of the homes, allowing their school system and their entertainment to program and raise up our next generation. They read these something bugs and direct in our city, and they marked our streets by placing Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in every city. A memorial for us, but as a marker for them to know where they are attacking specifically, and so that others know that this is a Black neighborhood. I mean, I can go to any city in America, and if I want to find the hood, all I need to do is find the MLK Boulevards. That wasn't by accident. They set up laws that imprisoned more of our men and left the next generation fatherless and angry. They filled that void with homosexual sellouts who promoted a lifestyle and mentality that destroyed us from within, removing our values completely, having us disrespect our women. Pretty much everything that would have been right for us, they promoted the complete opposite, and made these men our heroes and the leaders of our society. And we're still celebrating them today, talking about their money and giving them props and all that other garbage. Now we're totally controlled and manipulated, and we have raised up a next generation of Black men that doesn't even know what a Black man should look like or be like. We now have men that are submissive to their women and do not leave their homes, men that are scared to combat evil because they're scared of losing their fake Black card. And what we see now is either women or gay Black men taking our leadership roles. This is all an agenda that has been used against us, because while they diffused us and made sure we are not a threat to them, they have been provoking and manipulating us to use our energy to bring about the change in the highest world. People in America have an extremely high culture trends, but they are just echoing the voice of their puppet masters. And this has started because you, Mr. Black man, have been neutralized. You have been conquered. You have been so imprisoned that you believe that the only answer is actually the biggest weapon used against us. Yahushua the Messiah.
So we're going to stop right here. We're going to stop right here. Because I don't, like I told you, I don't get into that. We're going to stop right here. You have to realize you've been conquered, Black man. You've been conquered. You've been conquered. So, anybody would like to say anything before I leave? The link is in the chat. You can come up. And we're going to get into part 2 because, like I said, the female, she desired, bruised thy head and bruised thy heel. Bruised thy head is talking about a desire to be the head. The woman is desiring to be the head, and the enemy, the creator saying, the creator is telling the woman, which while she desiring to be the head, you're going to desire to follow her in the footsteps to make sure she do everything according to what she's supposed to do. You're the puppet master. You're the puppet master. You're the puppet master. And if you're the puppet master, this is your curse. You're not going to be connected to nothing. You're going to live in a cave. You're going to eat rubbish. You're not going to be able to channel your energy up towards me. You're going to be earthbound. You're not going to be able to mobilize yourself towards outside of this realm. You're bound. You're a wanderer. You're bound. You're bound to the earth. And you're going to be the puppet master of the female to make sure she stay in line to your agenda. That's a curse. That's a curse, family. So last call. Anybody want to say anything before I close it out?
No, I'll just say that the
Can't hear you.
videos that I'll just say that the videos that you presented today, it was an eye opener on looking at it from a different point of view, and information that was presented today. Just never really looked at it in that light.
Okay.
Oh, praises.
So we're going to pick up part 9 next week. We're going to pick up part 9 next week, and we're going to get into the judgment of the female. Because we just went over the judgment of the serpent. We just went over his agenda, and this agenda entailed the female. That's why the curse in verse 15 was saying that the woman wants to be the head. And the serpent is going to follow the heel steps of the female to make sure she stay off balance and she continue to destroy her house. Because when a child is born, the child is not going to have a protector, nor the child is going to have the mother. Because the mother is going to go, she's going to go after a career. She's going after a career. And for her going after a career, what do you think happened to the child? It's left over to the system. And this is where we at. So next week in the Most High's will, we're going to go after the female. And we're going to go in depth into her curse. All right, we're going in depth into the female's curse. See, because a lot of people think that, well, that has something to do with Jesus Christ or whatever you want to call it. That has nothing to do with that. That's talking about the curse. This is a curse. The serpent was cursed. He was judged. He was judged. Okay? So this week right here is the New Year's. It's the New Year's for those who believe in the springtime. And also we're approaching, we're going to have Passover on April the 1st. So those who would like to join are asked to reach out. Okay, and we're going to celebrate the memorial Passover. All right. So until next week, until the Shabbat, this is my Shabbat. I don't know if you celebrate the Shabbat, but those who don't celebrate the Shabbat, thank you for joining me. Make sure you press the thumbs up, press the like button, and press, if you haven't subscribed to the page, make sure you subscribe to the page. Make sure you share this with someone who needs to hear this lesson. Okay. Until then, next week, same time next week in the Creator's will. May your Shabbat be peaceful, restful, and relaxful. Until we meet again. Shalom.